of a mishmash on the news stories today. Actually, there's quite a lot to cover this week, particularly bearing in mind we've got European football coming up. There's something I want to discuss about David Sullivan, but we'll deal with that later on in the week as well. And a few other things, because this is quite an interesting time for news with West Ham, and I do find whether West Ham win or lose on a week-by-week basis sort of dictates what the West Ham news is going to be in terms of players we're linked with. And there's a couple of interesting stories which I want to get into, which come up on the One Football app, which we'll talk about in a second. One pertaining to a striker who we've been linked with a number of times. Another one with Jesse Lingard, yes, that again. And something else about a promising youngster who I'm a little bit disappointed about, actually. Before I do that, I just want to talk about, we put the boot into Tottenham Hotspur quite a lot on this channel. Rightly so. They're our rivals, right? And why not? It's Tottenham. But I do want to say I've seen what happened at the Newcastle game when the fan had a heart attack, basically. And I just want to say how impressed I was with, is his name Regulon? Is that his name? For him to identify what was going on in the crowd, for him to bring the referee's attention to it, for then him and Eric Dyer, who, again, I'm quite happy to lay the boot into in terms of his football ability when playing for England, for them to send the Tottenham physios over, and also the people, the Newcastle United fans. There was a lady, I believe, who performed CPR until they brought the defibrillator over. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I actually thought it was football coming together really, really well. Absolutely amazing. And it's something that's obviously close to our heart at Hammers Chat, because we had the unfortunate tragedy with Danny down at the boats. So we understand about the importance of CPR. And actually, I just watched it. I thought, actually, I'm going to redo my CPR training again, which we did. Must be a couple of years ago now. It's funny, isn't it, how COVID's sort of stolen that time from us. But I just thought, fair play. I'll get back to giving Tottenham a load of stick in the future. But I think, you know what, they saved a person's life, particularly the fullback Regulon, Ratatouille, we might call him. Fantastic. Dyer and the physios, absolutely brilliant, by the way. In terms of, back onto the West Ham news now, we've been linked with a striker. Now, you'll know this guy. It's a Genk striker, Paul Onuachu. This is a bit of a weird one, because we were linked with him all summer. And Southampton are now linked to him again, but it never actually happened. I understand why it didn't happen. We didn't have the necessary transfer budget to do it. David Moyes was given some money. He spent some of it on Zuma. He spent some of it on Vlasic. And whether, I guess it remains to be seen whether that was a wise thing to do or not, and I mean in terms of not getting a striker, I guess we won't know unless it's actually necessary. I think in the European game coming up, now myself and Jill will obviously do a preview for that. We both said when we did our player ratings video that I don't think either of us fancy Antonio to play in that game. I think it's quite clear that Bowen's is the backup striker anyway. Until that sort of goes awry and goes amiss and goes crap, basically, and I hope it won't. I hope David Moyes' plan works. Why would we want it to do anything other than that? We won't know whether it was wise or silly not to get the striker. But this guy plays for Genk. Now, I think he's 6'7". Now, there's a certain... It's quite funny. I don't know if it's my inner Tony Pulis who's become quite excited every time we get linked with a tall player, because I just see the absolute mayhem that it causes in opposition's defences every time we get a corner. And I think it was absolutely wonderful for us to get back on the goal-scoring road, so to speak, with Ogbona's header. I do wonder if that's now going to prompt a whole series of open the floodgates, so to speak, in terms of the set play goals. So I like this guy. He looks tall. He looks decent. The thing is, he's 27, so I just instantly disbelieve it. I just don't think it's the type of guy we're looking at. A 27-year-old sort of journeyman striker. He scored 11 goals in 15 this season, though, which ain't bad. But I just think if we'd have really wanted him, and I believe between us being linked with him and now, So whenever we were linked to him a few months ago, he signed a new contract. I think if we'd have really wanted him, if we'd have really wanted to put it out there and push it out that we wanted to sign this player, we would have done it. He wouldn't have signed a new contract and we would have got him. I don't think it was ever going to be massive money. So I don't necessarily believe this one, although he does look good, he does look dangerous. And I'm not going to have time to edit this in, but I'm looking at a picture of him now, stood amongst his teammates. He's massive. It's not like he's 6'7" or whatever it is. I think he's nearly 6'8" and skinny. He's a lump. He's Chunkenstein, right? He really is a big old lump, this bloke. And it's something, a bit of mischief in me would actually quite like us to see it, just to see the opposition defenders not knowing whether to mark him or to mark Souček or Dawson or Zuma or Bonner or anyone else. And you're funny, you mark all those guys and then you're still leaving Declan Rice and Mikel Antonio, who are really good. You're leaving them unmarked, who are really good in the air. Or not unmarked, but you're leaving sort of small players to mark people that are actually quite strong and quite dominant in the air themselves. Found that anyway. Interesting story. Don't quite believe it. The Lingard one is interesting. I think there's okay, it's saying we're not interested in Lingard anymore. I don't believe this. And I'll read you the story in a second. It's another story. They've all come from the OneFootball app. As you'll already know by now, the OneFootball app is a mobile phone app. You can download it to your mobile phone or whatever other device you might have. The link is in the description below. If you please use the link underneath this video, they'll know you've come from Hammers Chat. What you do is when you sign up, you click on that you support West Ham, and it puts all your West Ham news into one place. If you don't want to find out anything else, you can have all the Premier League news if you want, but if you just want West Ham, you can tailor it to your own specifications. It's free. Why not give it a go? If you don't like it, you can bin it. And one of the stories in here is it says David Moyes will not make a January move for Jesse Lingard despite boss David Moyes being a huge fan of the attacking midfielder. Now, as I understand it, the price they're trying to put on him here is 19.8 million. It's really weird. I'm telling you, it says here 19.8 million. Go and have a look on the app. West Ham transfer news. David Moyes' stance on 19.8 million England star revealed. Why is that not 20 million? Why would that not be 20 million? 19.8 million. I guess in euros it's rounded up, but why we're dealing in euros when it's Man United to West Ham, I don't bloody know. Anyway, it goes on to say that we won't be interested in January, and then sort of goes to surmise that because we're not in for a deal in January at 19.8 million, we've lost all interest in Jesse Lingard. It's basically going on to say that that because of Vlasic's arrival, there's no reason that West Ham would be in the hunt for Lingard or anybody else in January, and so on and so forth. Disbelieve all of that. And just because we don't want him in January doesn't mean we don't want him. I think there was very much a point, and sorry, I should probably quantify this as well. I said in the match review, or certainly in my video yesterday, that I wasn't overly impressed with how we played against Everton. Let me just quantify that. I don't think we were brilliant, but I think defensively we were really good, and I think in midfield we were really good. And if you saw the player ratings video, you'll know we rated those players highly. Where I felt we dipped was Antonio and Benrahma and Fornals were not up to their usual standards. And because of that, I felt we lacked a cutting edge. So that's why I thought we were not at our swashbuckling best. When West Ham were at their swashbuckling best, we're scoring 3 and 4 goals. And David Moyes agreed, by the way. David Moyes actually said we lacked penetration, we lacked guile, we lacked creativity, we lacked craft. And when I looked at it and looked at the bench as well, I'll be honest, I wanted Vlasic to come on because the other guys weren't doing it. But I saw a paucity of options, not in terms of first team ready players on the bench, but in terms of players who you felt, well, this guy can unlock a defence. I think it, and I think David Moyes will probably think the same as well. And it doesn't really matter whether you think that's a striker or just an attacker. David Moyes may well just look at it and think this is an attacker that we need. So for that reason, I would not discount Jesse Lingard at all. And actually, you start to look at it and you think, well, had we been in that situation and we'd have had Lingard, Lingard would have been playing. And I think probably Lingard would have taken one of those chances that we created because he's just very, very good at doing so. But it puts one of those guys on the bench. Either Bowen's on the bench, Benrahma's on the bench, Fornals on the bench. And it looks a whole lot better, doesn't it, when you're bringing one of those guys off the bench to try and open a team up. I don't believe this article. I don't believe it at all. I do not believe that David Moyes has totally given up on Jesse Lingard. At 19.8 million, or in, as you and I would call it, 20 million, I don't think he's interested. Why would he be? Why would he be? I just don't think he would at all. But I don't think United are in a position of strength. They really aren't. And it was a difficult one for United. I think they made the right decision not to give an option to buy when we loaned him initially. Absolutely. But I think for that to work, Lingard had to play really well, which he did, and then they had to tie him down to a long-term contract. It's just not happened. The winner here is Jesse Lingard. He's played a very, very smart game. At the moment, Jesse Lingard can sign a big, rich contract for Man United, or he can sign for a pretty damn good club. I mean, the likes of maybe us, Leicester, someone like that, who are hopefully going to challenge, for the top 6 or whatever the case may be. He can try and join a club like that, or he can wait until the end of the season and go anywhere he wants on a free and pick up massive wages. It's win-win-win. Apparently he's on 75 grand a week. Whatever happens, Jesse Lingard is going to earn more money in his next contract, whether it's at West Ham, Leicester, Man United, or I was going to say Accrington Stanley. Probably not Accrington Stanley, if the truth be known. But yeah, I'm not convinced about that at all. Look, people will have their own. It's quite funny, actually. I was going to say people have their own ideas about Jesse Lingard. It's quite funny looking at the comments on the videos when I do one, and because there's trends and it shifts, and there's everybody has their own opinion. But you notice when you leave the comments that the people start to change their mind, and people are not that bothered about Jesse Lingard now. There was a point where I do the videos and people say we must sign him, we have to sign him, and now people are saying, well, actually it doesn't matter, that ship has sailed. And I've always been sort of reluctant, not with Lingard, but with anyone, of being West Ham and sort of dismissing any player really, particularly if they can come in and do a job. And I think he can do a job. I can come in and do a very, very good job. That being said, I still refer back to the video that I did last week, which is I think that West Ham will be bringing in an attacker of sorts in January. Whether that's a striker, I don't know. But one thing we do know is if he brings in Jesse Lingard, it's not really utilising Rob Newman. And for that reason, I don't think we pay a fee for Jesse Lingard. If Jesse Lingard comes in, it's because David Moyes wants him. It's next season, it's on a free. I do think that if you bring in this director of recruitment, and if there is, let's say West Ham do have 20 million to spend. It might be from next season's budget, but let's say there's 20 million available in January. It would be absolutely silly to spend that money and use that money on Jesse Lingard when we've just brought in a director of football. I think we're at that point now. If there's £20 million there, or 19.8 million, of course, I think let's just give it to the director of football. We've brought him in, we've director of recruitment, whatever he's called. Let's give it to Rob. Give it to Rob Newman. I'll be very, very interested to see what he can do with 20 million.